Welcome students. So in today's lecture we shall be learning about the next fat soluble vitamin, that is vitamin K. So it is the only fat soluble vitamin with a specific coenzyme function. So this is the only fat soluble vitamin with a specific coenzyme function. So it's having a very specific function, that is in the blood clotting. So it is required for the production of blood clotting factors. What is this specific coenzyme function? That is for production of blood clotting factors. Now these are essential for coagulation. Now let us see what is the chemistry first of all of vitamin K, its structure. So vitamin K exists in different forms, mainly in three, that is vitamin K1, K2 and K3. Now let us draw the structure one by one. First of all, let us draw the structure for its first form, that is vitamin K1, also known as phylloquinone. So all of you must be seeing a normal structure or a basic structure of naphthoquinone in this. So these are basically the naphthoquinone derivatives. So now let us draw the common structure of naphthoquinone. So these are all the derivatives of naphthoquinone, and we must be familiar with its structure first of all. The structure is like this. It is containing one benzene ring attached to another 6-membered ring with this quinone ring. So this is the structure of naphthoquinone. So in all the forms of vitamin K you will be seeing this structure. Now let us draw the structure of vitamin K1 first. So the phylloquinone is having the basic naphthoquinone ring in it. You can see here. So it is having the basic naphthoquinone ring. Along with this, a methyl group at this position and a long alkyl chain. So up to this is all 3 times here and then the hydrogen bond. So this is the structure for vitamin K1, that is phylloquinone. So this is the structure for phylloquinone. Now the another form of vitamin K, that is vitamin K2, known as menaquinone. Now we shall be drawing the structure of vitamin K2, also known as menaquinone. So it is also having a basic ring structure of naphthoquinone in it. So all of you are now familiar with the structure of naphthoquinone. First of all, let us draw it. So you can clearly see here that this is the naphthoquinone ring and a methyl group is attached at this position. Then a long alkyl chain will be here. So this is the structure of vitamin K2 or menaquinone. Next comes the structure of vitamin K3. So the third one is the structure of vitamin K3, also known as menadione. So now let us draw the structure of menadione. So here you can see the structure of vitamin K1, K2 and now the vitamin K3. So it's also having a basic ring structure of naphthoquinone in it and a methyl group attached, but there is no side chain here, no alkyl chain is present in this. So this is a naphthoquinone ring and here is a methyl group. So this is the simplest structure of vitamin K3, that is menadione. So the three vitamins are stable to heat and their activity is, however, so you can see here three structures, and their activity is however lost by oxidizing agents or by irradiation, strong acids and alkalis. So these were the structures of vitamin K1, K2 and K3. Now what about the fate of its absorption, transport and storage? So the vitamin K that is taken in diet or synthesized by the intestinal bacteria. So the intake of vitamin K is through diet. We can simply write here vitamin K in diet or synthesized by intestinal bacteria So its absorption takes place along with the fats and is dependent on bile salts. So its absorption is dependent on bile salts. And the vitamin K is transported along with LDL and is stored mainly in liver. So this is transported along with low density lipoproteins and is stored mainly in liver and to a lesser extent in the other tissues. So stored in liver. So as per its use, it's extracted from the liver. Now the biochemical functions, the vitamin K are concerned with the blood clotting process. So first of all, let us make it clear that its biochemical function is for blood clotting process. So this is mainly for the blood clotting process. It brings about the post-translational modification of certain blood clotting factors. So I will be writing here a term that is post-translational modifications of certain blood clotting factors So the clotting factors 2, that is mainly the prothrombin. So what are these various blood clotting factors? So the first of all is the prothrombin, also referred to as the blood clotting factor 2. Then comes the blood clotting factor 7, 9th and 10th. So these are basically the blood clotting factors which are synthesized as inactive precursors or zymogens in the liver. So they act in the form of zymogens in presence of vitamin K. So vitamin K act as a coenzyme for the carboxylation of glutamic acid residue and converts them into their active form. So now let us see how this conversion takes place. So first of all, let us draw the structure for the precursors of clotting factors 2, 7, 9 and 10. So it's a complex structure, so students remember how to draw that. So a protein residue will be present. So next will be the glutamic acid residue in this. So this is the glutamic acid residue I am drawing here. So students, these are the precursors of clotting factors 2, 7, 9 and 10. So in presence of carboxylase enzyme, so the name of enzyme is carboxylase. It leads to conversion of gamma carboxy glutamate residues. So the reaction will be occurring in presence of, first of all, the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, and this reaction takes place in presence of vitamin K. So this leads to formation of the real clotting factors 2, 7, 9 and 10. So let us, for example, it is a prothrombin. So here another carboxylic group will be attached. So this is the carboxylation process that is occurring. So if we see, this is the glutamic acid residue, whereas this is the gamma carboxy glutamate. So this is the gamma carboxy glutamate. And these are the actual clotting factors. So which one? 2, 7, 9 and 10. So remember, these 4 clotting factors are dependent on vitamin K. So now let us summarize that how vitamin K cycles in the carboxylation reaction. So in order to simplify this given reaction, we can draw that the glutamic acid residues or the zymogens of clotting factor 2, 7, 9 and 10, they are converted into gamma carboxy glutamate residues that I am writing in the red color. So this reaction takes place in the carboxylase enzyme, in presence of carboxylase enzyme, and in this reaction vitamin K is changed into its epoxide form. So now let us see how this occurs. So the vitamin K is usually in its active form known as hydroquinone form. So this is converted into its epoxide form, and again in presence of reductase enzyme, this is converted into its quinone form, and from quinone form again in presence of reductase enzyme, it is converted into its hydroquinone form. But during this process, some inhibitors are also acting, such as the dicumarole, which is an anticoagulant that is found in the sweet clover, whereas warfarin, another synthetic analog which can inhibit the actions of vitamin K. So they will be acting at this point. Now here will be the action of the inhibitors. So these inhibitors will be blocking the reductase enzyme and will not lead to conversion of the quinone form of vitamin K. So thus preventing the blood clotting mechanism, and this may lead to hemorrhage, but in certain conditions such as in pulmonary embolism it is required to prevent the clottings. So now you can easily see that how this reaction occurs. So another form is the how these clotting factors, they are actually contributing to the blood clotting mechanism. So we are having the gamma carboxyglutamate over here. So how this leads to binding of the calcium with the phospholipids and leads to clot formation. So in actual the two carboxylic groups, the terminal carboxylic groups, they help to form a structure that helps to bind with the phospholipids and leads to formation of blood clots. So now we can easily draw the structure of prothrombin, we can say. So this is the prothrombin protein. Now this leads to the complex formation with the calcium ions. And these are the phospholipids that are bind here. So these are the phospholipids that are bound in a complex structure of calcium along with the prothrombin and leads to the blood clotting formation. So this is the gamma carboxy glutamate complexed with calcium. And here is the platelet membrane that is formed. So this is the platelet membrane. So this is basically complexed with the phospholipids in it. So this is the mechanism for action of gamma carboxyglutamate of prothrombin in the blood clotting. So here you can see how the blood clotting actually occurs. So what happens in the deficiency? The deficiency of vitamin K is uncommon since it is present in diet in sufficient quantity and it's adequately synthesized by the intestinal bacteria. So through the diet we can say there are various dietary sources from which it can be easily obtained. So what are the sources of vitamin K through diet? So these are basically the cabbage, cauliflower, tomatoes, another herb known as alfalfa, spinach and other green vegetables. So all the green vegetables have an ample amount of vitamin K in it. So it is also present in the non-vegetarian sources such as egg yolk, meat, liver, cheese and the other dairy products. So the deficiency of vitamin K is quite uncommon. So however, vitamin K deficiency may occur due to its faulty absorption, due to the lack of bile salts or the loss of vitamin into feces through the diarrheal disease. So the deficiency may lead to lack of active prothrombin in the circulation and the blood clotting time may be increased. So we have talked about the two competitive inhibitors, that are the dicumarole and warfarin. So these are the two competitive inhibitors, and we also remember that the competitive inhibitors do resemble in their structure with the substrate or with the enzyme. So here the substrate is the vitamin K. So now let us see how these two structures are related to them. So first of all, let us draw the structure of dicumarole. Now I will be drawing the structure of dicumarole here. So instead of the naphthoquinone ring, so it's a derivative of coumarin. So it will be having a coumarin ring in it. So students, this is the structure for dicumarole. You can see here, this is the structure of dicumarole, which somewhat is similar to the structure of vitamin K. You can see here. So with the naphthoquinone ring, it's somewhat matching, and this leads to the competitive inhibition in them. The substrate site cannot recognize easily. And another compound that is synthetic in nature, that is warfarin. So the warfarin is also involved in the competitive inhibition, and its structure is also, so it's also having a coumarin ring in it. So the structure is represented like this. So this is the structure for warfarin. The dicumarole and warfarin both resemble in structure with each other also, and with the vitamin K. So these are two acting as the competitive inhibitors of vitamin K in its epoxide form, and they inhibit the enzyme reductase. So students, this was all regarding the vitamin K. In this we have learned about the various forms of vitamin K. See here, vitamin K1, K2 and K3. Then how it is absorbed, its absorption, then transport, and finally the storage. So this is all covered in this, how it is done. Then comes the biochemical function, how it is related to the production of gamma carboxyglutamate. You can see here, it is leading to the conversion of zymogens of clotting factors into the actual clotting factors in their active form, and this is the summary. Then how the blood clotting occurs, the actual mechanism of the complex formation with the calcium, and finally the competitive inhibitors that inhibit the conversion of vitamin K from its epoxide form to the quinone form. So I hope the structures and the biochemistry of vitamin K is clear to you all now.